Pokemon fusions are a trend that took over the internet for a while. Trust me, I know. But while going through the Kanto region, mashing any two Pokemon you find together can be really addicting, I also find it a little bit daunting, and sometimes while playing, I felt a little overwhelmed by the sheer amount of choices of Pokemon fusions I could have. Enter Pokemon Fuse Dimensions, a Pokemon ROM hack replacing the traditional 151 Kanto Pokemon with over 300 gorgeous Pokemon fusions. No, you can't really pick them apart and make your own, but it makes the ones you do get all the more precious, and it's not like they're lacking in quality. I mean, this game has freaking mega evolutions for their fusions, and it's sick. All of these sprites are gorgeous. What more can you ask? In addition, this game is also hard as hell, so if you're looking for a more traditional Pokemon experience while not missing out on all the Pokemon fusion fun, get ready, because this is our Pokemon Fuse Dimensions Nuzlocke. We begin our journey by choosing our starter Pokemon, where we have our choices of a Trico Mareep, a Sobble Dratini, and the most precious Scorbunny Mime Jr. I don't even like Mime Jr., but I'm a simple man. If I see something cute, I make it my own. Meet Scion. He's adorable, and I love him forever, even if it means our rival gets a pseudo-legendary for a starter. I probably should have thought that through. But either way, we managed to win our battle, and now it's time to explore Route 1 a bit. We get Pokeballs so we can finally expand our team with a Bungela named Crazy and a Lillifa named Chonk. After we beat our rival Dildong, we catch one more little critter, Caterpillar. Oh my god, look at this guy! Is he not the greatest thing you've ever seen? Oh, and he came with the Megastone? Double hell yeah! We're naming them Cake. We can't use the Megastone yet, but soon, my darlings, soon. Because we have our first ever gym battle, Brock. And frankly, our team isn't looking too great. Scion is a Fire-Ice type, so if they're so much hit by a rock, they'll straight up die. Oh. Wait, that's a flying type Pokemon. And hey, so is this one. So here's the thing. I made the mistake of assuming because we're in Kanto, we'd be fighting Kanto gym leaders. How stupid of me. Nope, it's all the Johto gym leaders from here on out. So now we've got to deal with Falkner. While flying types still counter half of our team, Scion is gonna do pretty well from here on out. So we easily sweep through Falkner's 3 Pokemon, and already that's 1 gym badge in our pocket. On our way towards Mount Moon though, outside of battling a few trainers, we do manage to catch some new Pokemon, most notably a Meowbopus named Oko, and a Senbass we buy in the Pokemon Center we named Evangelo. By the way, this is a good time to mention that all of my Pokemon are named after commenters, so if you want to be a Pokemon in my next Nuzlocke, make sure to leave a comment down below, and hey, while you're there, hit that subscribe button. In Mount Moon, we also count a lit dude named Goldberg. But it's just in time for our first actual encounter with Team Rocket. This time around, they're rocking Capitatas, Krogros, and Sabaloos, but we're still holding our own. And even more so since both Scion and Evangelo are evolving. I did not expect to have a Milotic this early in the game, but even when mixed with a Furret, actually no, especially when mixed with a Furret, they are completely broken. Look how easily Evangelo and Crazy are breezing through our rival fight. Usually this battle on the bridge ends Nuzlocke runs, but we barely even took any damage from it. I felt pretty confident going into Bugsy, since between Scion and Lit Dude, we got 2 crazy good fire types, and with Evangelo and a newly evolved Chonk, they're powerful enough to tank any big attacks we have to be worried about, especially from Shuckle Pukumuku spamming rollout. Seriously, this thing was a tank before and it did not go down. But either way, we managed to get there and get our second gym badge. Now, I've done a lot of Nuzlocks on this channel, and usually it's around the second gym where I can finally tell whether or not a run is going well. And frankly, I'm feeling great. It's not enough just to have 0 deaths, but look at our team. We have the freaking Justice League here. We have 2 powerhouses in Evangelo and Scion, but the rest of our team, like Crazy and Lit Dude, are full of potential as well. So much so that we easily crush our rival aboard the SS Anne, and speaking of potential, Crazy is ready to evolve, and they're ripped as hell. Good thing too, because it's time for another Nuzlocke killer. Crazy uses Giga Drain on her Audino Whooper, but falls asleep quickly to Chan Ladin. So we need to send in Scion to beat them out with a couple flame charges. And then we have our first run-in with Car Tank. And this thing is literally built like a truck, no pun intended. It probably has some rock moves, so I'm getting Scion the hell out of here and send in Oko. I was hoping that their steel typing would help with whatever they were, either rock or fairy, but the dummy fell in love. And even after allowing Car Tank to defense curl, our Metal Claws just didn't do anything. So we had to switch Evangelo back in to hit them with some special attacking water pulses to finish the job. And also her fairy was here, and then it wasn't. But hey, I had made it through another gym battle completely unscathed. So we have a bit of traveling to do. First through Rock Tunnel, then through Lavender Town, and before we hit up Celadon City, we do have some Pokemon to catch. Most notably, this cutie patootie! A mix of Zora and Vulpix we're naming Nika. And as we all know, in Celadon City, you can usually get an Eevee, or Evetom, on top of this building, and we name them Cheese. Now, for those familiar with the Johto gyms, next up is Morty. So we have to make sure we're ready to fight some ghost types. I decided to use a Moonstone on Cheese so we can get this crazy electric fairy type with access to ghost type moves. And just as an extra, Oko also evolves to get a bit of boost in power as well. Between two of our powerhouses, Crazy and Evangelo, our team is overwhelmingly normal type, so I'm gonna really be relying on Nika to carry us through, even though they just joined up and, you know, they haven't evolved. But when we're facing Morty, even an unevolved Pokemon can still tear through Esprivus. Dang, I thought Esper looked jaded before. This one has definitely seen some things. And next up was Pangtrode? Now, during this battle, when I was faced with this Pokemon, I was super confused. What kind of Pokemon fusion was this? Apparently, this is half Hisuian Electrode and half Kionpan, which was a cut beta Pokemon from Generation 2, which kind of makes sense now that they're ghost type. The ghost of Pokemon past, am I right? But they're still a little too much for Nika, so it's time for our backup plan. Hisuian Electrode means that they're a grass type, so Scion being an ice and fire is able to beat them out on all fronts. Scion is also able to get a chip off of Meow Magius, and even though Meow Magius is really fun to say, I'm not gonna risk losing our starter, especially when a lucky critical hit makes Cheese get dangerously close to being our first loss of the run. So we gotta send in all reliable Crazy and risk taking a Fire, but eventually we managed to burn the witch. And now all that's left is Cursagos. Oko is the next soldier we send out, hoping they can do some damage, but it's not enough to finish them off even with a crit. Luckily, in our party, Evangelo is still sitting at full health, but on the other hand, Cursagos is a grass type. I don't know if I'm willing to risk the life of our strongest Pokemon, so I make a really tough call. Oko must perish, so we can get the free switch into Scion for the win. Our very first loss of the run, and it really does hurt, but we press on. We evolve Cake. We rebuild, and then we evolve Cake again, and it's time to take on Team Rocket. They're rocking brand new poison and normal types. Are normal types bad? That's like half my team. But this creature is so cursed, and I cannot explain why. At least when it's ground up into experience, it's enough for Nika to evolve. They look absolutely gorgeous now. I don't know why black is such a good color on Ninetales, but hey, it's ready for a real challenge. Giovanni. Or, Clair, I guess, since they're the 8th gym leader. That makes sense. But, oh boy, I was not prepared for dragon types. At least they're, well, still dinky little babies, so Cheese's fairy-type pixelated Swifts managed to sweep their entire team. But I know deep down our later battles with Clair are going to be hell. For now, let's make a quick pit stop in Lavender Town, pay our respects to Oko, and head up the Pokemon Tower, which, as usual, is filled with spooky ghost types, and a dumbass rival who's easily outclassed. But after saving Mr. Fuji and getting the Pokeflute, we can catch our next Pokemon, Morty, the Beartic Snorlax, and move on to Fuchsia City. Now, as many of y'all know, my fatal flaw is I get very cocky, and I probably have some explaining to do on why Chuck's gym went so terribly. Well, I ignored many red flags. For example, I went to a fighting gym with 2 ice types, a dark type, and 2 normal types. Yeah, I really was putting all of my eggs into the cheese basket, but I also misread the level cap, so all of my Pokemon were severely underleveled going into the fight. This battle in particular is going to kick off a snowball effect that is going to make the rest of our run a pretty bad time. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The battle starts out simple enough, so much so that you never expect it to end in tragedy. She's easily swept through Chuck's team. Being a fairy-type Pokemon, it's hard not to. His Pokemon were pushovers, even though their Giga Champ is 10 levels higher and was able to Mega Evolve, we just couldn't be beat. Or at least, we wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for this damn Toxicroak Honchkrow. Cheese was at low enough health that I don't really want to risk another death, so I decided to send in Cake because hey, they can Mega Evolve now and they look great, so hopefully they can do something. Nope, they barely get them down to half health. Oh shit. Okay, what about our old reliable Evangelo? We don't outspeed, but can Water Pulse do any damage? I forgot Toxicroak has dry skin, so we end up healing them instead. Okay, well I guess I'll have to use Slam. At least it has Stab and maybe it'll paralyze. Nope, we don't even get the chance. We just lost Evangelo, our most reliable Pokemon, and Cheese can't take another hit either. They follow them to the grave next. We're losing all of our heavy hitters. So what about Scion, our starter Pokemon? Can Headbutt do anything? Barely. And while Swagger did help us, Chuck decides to use a damn Hyper Potion. So, if any Pokemon, I want to protect our starter more than others, we decide to switch into Crazy. But Chuck decides to use his goddamn Giga Brain and uses Air Cutter, correctly predicting our switch. Crazy has no chance to outspeed, and there's only one way we're getting out of this, and it means we have to sack the first Pokemon we ever caught. Rest well, sweet prince. We needed a clean switching to Nika, and even though we missed our first Will-O-Wisp, Nika's color change ability means that fighting type attacks are no longer super effective against them. This allows us to burn them, which severely lowers their attack, and after a couple flamethrowers and even more prayers, we finally managed to win the toughest battle we've ever had in this. But at what cost? Half of our goddamn Pokemon team just got Thanos snapped. And up next, we have to fight Clair and all of Team Rocket in Saffron City, so we really need some new powerful Pokemon, and lucky for us, the Safari Zone is right there. And I don't know what cruel god decides to play games with us, but we got strokes of luck. A Rowlet Scyther we named Degassi, a Curly, a Charmeleon we named Scarlet, a Farfetch'd Basculin named Jasp, and a Pidgey Torchic named Kari. 4 crazy good Pokemon, but who do we add to our party? For now, I want more type coverage, so it's Degassi, Scarlet, and Jasp. And hey, all of them are ready to evolve right away, some of them even twice. And frankly, they look ready to rumble. And side note, I actually really appreciate, even though I always make down bad jokes about it, it's a nice change of pace. Now, we can immediately start taking on Team Rocket's new Pokemon in Silphco, and have an admittedly poorly timed rival fight. In all honesty, it should have been a God damn it, Jazz, we just added you to the team. I don't even want to focus on this too much. It's like our 5th loss, but we just added them to the team, who cares? That's a little embarrassing, but now we're ready to battle against Clair again. And since we really want to stack our team against dragon types, for now, I'm gonna box Scarlet, and that means taking some fodder that we don't really care about losing. Sleepy Moon the Arbok Pangoro, and Chrono the Drampa Dunsparce. Even with the unforced error that lost us Jasp, I'm still feeling pretty good about heading into this fight with Clair Avani. I mean, yeah, the last time I said that we lost half of our team, but how bad could it be? We lead the battle with Degassi. Since they are a high defense, high attacking ghost and steel type, they should be able to resist most dragon type moves, except that Clair's first Pokemon was Axtor. As long as they didn't have any fire and dark type moves, we would be sitting pretty, and actually saying that out loud, this is a huge threat. So we decide to switch Degassi out into Chrono, barely missing a crunch, but unfortunately that means our big old dragon's defense is lowered. Chrono manages to tank 1 hit before taking down Axtor with a single Dragon Pulse. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care that much for Dunsparce, and I'm not that invested in keeping Chrono alive, so I'm going to really just sacrifice them against the Sliggering so we can greatly lower their health before allowing them to die so that Scion could come out, our lovely starter. And being an ice type, you think they would have been able to do the last bit of damage necessary to knock out this dragon. But we They had barely survived a high horsepower to outspeed and get a second Icy Wind off. I do actually care about Scion, so when Larble comes out, I'm not gonna risk our starter Pokemon, and I instead switch into Sleepy Moon, who is another defensive tank. Between their high stats and just Intimidate being an awesome ability, Larble's super effective Stomping Tantrum barely does anything, so I felt confident enough to use a workup before going for a sweep. Circle Throw tosses Larble into the trash before Pup Bite comes out, and don't let their dumbass name fool you, this is a monster. With a single Stone Edge, they incapacitate Sleepy Moon, and it's up to Degassi to come back in and save the day with some Steel-type moves, earning our second victory over Team Rocket, and both Pokemon that we lost. Those two guys I definitely cared about. For our next team, I thought the best choice would be Apples, the Stachypris we got in Silphco, and why not? Scarlet can come back to the team as well. We'd also finally evolved Scion into their final form, Mr. Race. It's not the best name, but I love their dapper little design. And hey, I'm not going to complain about powerful fire types going into Jasmine's steel type gym. We led with Nika, whose overpowering special attack and flamethrower make quick work of Tortizone, which I'm positive was a grass and steel type. Blastiophon fares a little bit better, managing to get off a couple bulldozes, but in the end, no amount of hyper potions are enough to save them from Nika's wrath. And trust me, we were here for a while. But just because we managed to take them down doesn't mean they won't be able to hurt us in the long run. Bastiodon's most used move was Rock Tomb, and because of Nika's ability to color change, they're now a rock type. So when X-Can Mega comes out, my ape brain says, Ooga Booga, Steel Bug, use fire type attack, and I instantly locked into using Flamethrower. So when the much faster X-Can Mega is now able to hit us with a super effective Metal Claw, it almost, and I mean almost, destroys our Liberator. Look, we had like 3 health left, but at the end of the day, we're still 4 times effective, so Flamethrower just burns them all up. But I still want to get Nika out of there, especially with Meta Slash Mega Evolving. So it's time for Scarlet to show their stuff. Gardevoir has always been the guardian angel of this channel, and oh, they died in their very first battle. Well shit, now what? Can Apples do anything? I'm certain that this giant Goliath we're facing is a stealing ground type, so Brine should be super effective, and it is. It's just not enough to get their health anywhere where we need it to be. So apples fall as quickly as they grow. Our next choice was to go for speed. I love Scion, but the chances of them surviving an earthquake were slim. I just needed a Blaze Kick to incinerate this Pokemon, but by a hair they survived. And we lost our starter, just as they evolved too. At the very least, they had done enough that Degassi could come in with a Shadow Sneak and ensure our victory, but it never feels good to lose your starter Pokemon, especially when they look so cool. On our way to Cinnabar Island, we have some time to reflect. We really need to step it up. We're losing the Pokemon we have in our box at a startling rate. Every single major battle, a third of our team is dying, and that's just not sustainable. We had gotten a lucky break with finding a Suicune and Registeel fusion, which seems powerful enough to carry us through the rest of the game. We even used our Master Ball, but I'm not taking the easy way out. No, our new team member is gonna be Yummy, the Toxicroak Honchkrow, the same Pokemon that destroyed a half of our team, and Carrie, the Pidgeot Blaziken. Both of them should be able to help us through Price's Ice-type gym, and as an added bonus, why add a new friend when you can add an old one? Let's add Goldberg back to the party, since their Rock and Fire typing should demolish Ice types, and they look pretty sweet when evolved. So in our 7th gym battle, it's Goldberg against the world, or Takes Off, or Precious Little Life, or whatever Scott Pilgrim is coming out right now. Anyway, Inferno is able to one-hit KO their Pyler-up, and I'm feeling great. Our unlucky streak ends here, and Snortic just Mega Evolved. Okay, so let me explain my thought process because I feel it needs defending. My plan here was to set up with Goldberg using Stealth Rock, which would mess up every other ice type that came out and get chip damage. And last time I checked, neither Snorlax or Beartic can Mega Evolve, so I thought it was safe. And to throw on top of it high horsepower, a 4 times effective move to Goldberg, we never stood a chance. It also means that I can't really send out any of my other Fire and Steel types, so big yikes, but earliest part flying, so we should be safe, right? Well, we would have been if we didn't get frozen on the first blizzard. Seriously, Pokemon Fusion Gods, what's the deal? Are you mad at me? Is it because I stopped my Pokemon Short series? Have I not spread the good word of Pokemon Fusions enough on YouTube? Why must you laugh at my demise? Apparently, some of these gods had heard our prayers and decided to be nicer, because Degassi, our powerhouse, managed to finish off Snorlax with a critical hit Iron Head, and when Mammarapt came out, a ground type that easily could have destroyed us, we got a second critical hit on Iron Head to win. To destroy them. I feel like I just used a lifetime's worth of luck, but Price's final Pokemon Wardeer isn't even threatening, so we managed to finish it off. Our team has once again took a big hit, but I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about the rest of the run, especially since there shouldn't be that many more surprises. We've already fought Clair, the 8th gym leader, several times, so we have a decent idea of what to expect going into our Dragon-type gym, which means we can plan around a lot of these rock and ground dragons. In honor of Price's Snorlax, we decided to add our own Snortic Beardy to the team, and I'm also evolving Rose, this Hoptad we got a while back, into Ludpluff, which I am most certainly not just using because they're really cute, but because Water and Grass will be really good at countering some of these rock and ground type moves. Are these the best decisions I could have made? Not necessarily, but you all don't watch this channel to see me make good decisions. So we lead with Rose into our final gym battle, which all things considered goes much better than I thought it would. Even with Pup-Bite getting a lucky crit on Stone Edge, Rose's Giga Drain is able to restore our health enough for us to do alright. Luckily, I managed to use U-Turn and get off a super effective crit against Fraxdoom, but the fact that I didn't kill it means I made the right decision switching into Degassi. Degassi is so tanky that a super effective payback that was boosted by Sword Dance barely took out half of our health. If I didn't find this guy in the Safari Zone, I guarantee this run would have ended much earlier. We get lucky with a half health Iron Head on their Sliggering and allows us some much needed healing via Degassi's leftovers. After X-Scissoring, actually I really don't like how I phrase that, after using X-Scissor twice against Kingnanium, for the first time in a while, we're gonna make it through a gym battle unscathed. But then we fight a monster. Tyranchomp, a fusion of two pseudo-legendaries that has a mega evolution incoming. I don't think anyone on my team can tank a hit from this behemoth, so I have to bet it all on Degassi outspeeding, and maybe Iron Head will flinch, or maybe the unthinkable will happen. They'll miss their attack. With a bated breath, we watch as half of what can only be described as a monster's health dwindles with a single attack. If we can survive one Stone Edge, we'll have beaten Clair. We will command our ace Pokemon to once again use Iron Head, begging for them to survive. And they do. Only because of the leftovers we had decided to give them on a whim minutes prior. And with that last attack, we had won the battle without losing a single Pokemon. Our curse has ended. We have seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and we have another rival fight before the Elite Four. I mean, considering how much I've played Fire Red and Leaf Green, you'd think I would remember that this fight is here, but it still feels so unnatural to fight the would-be champion minutes before we take on the Elite Four. But hey, it shouldn't be too bad. We just lost Cake. We just lost our Mega Evolving Pokemon minutes before the Elite Four. This is not a drill. Okay, so we need to prepare for the Pokemon League, which means that we need as much firepower as we can. And lucky for us, we get the perfect Pokemon to do so in Victory Road. We get our very own Larble. And outside of being adorable, we know how terrifying this thing can be. We catch them, we name them Avocado, and to our luck, Pokemon Fusion Gods looking down upon me with smiles, they came with a Megastone. So now we've got our own little Goliath in our party. While a lot of this run has been a struggle, we've got a pretty solid group of 6 Pokemon heading into the Elite Four. The issue is, I don't know what to expect. I would assume that this is the Johto Elite Four, but that's basically the same as the Kanto Elite Four. So maybe they're gonna throw me a curveball with these typings? So I'm going into this chamber essentially blind. I was expecting ice types, so imagine my surprise when I'm introduced to Anabel, the psychic type trainer. You know, the Frontier Brain, that chick from Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Okay, well, I guess the Elite Four is just gonna be a grab bag of random characters from throughout the series, but psychic types I can deal with, because that means we have good instincts leading with Nika, and it totally wasn't because I was expecting to fight Lorelei. Either way, Flamethrower is super effective against this Ferrothorn Wobbuffet, and Power Whip isn't. It takes a little bit because every time we use Color Change, we lose our stab on Flamethrower, but Anabel pouring some Hyper Potions into Wobbuthorn isn't gonna protect her from the inevitable. Next up is Wardeer, and while we get some chip damage, it's time for Yummy to finally contribute to the team, doing almost half of Wardeer's health before we have to switch them out into Degassi. It's okay, Yummy, maybe next time. I probably should have done this from the start, since outside of being our most reliable and strongest Pokemon, they're a ghost type, and Stab Shadow Claw is just going to take down most of Anabel's fusion, including Meowmagius, which is still a lot of fun to say. For Jinzicoat though, we have Morty with a super effective Icicle Crash, and their final Pokemon, a Mega Beedrazam, isn't gonna out-Mega our Avocado. This is our first time using the Goliath, formerly known as Avocado, in battle, and just like a white woman choosing their favorite brunch ingredient, Avocado is gonna come out on top. A single Stone Edge defeats our only other Mega competitor and our first Elite Four member. The second member of the Elite Four isn't an Elite Four member, it's Janine, Koga's daughter, so it guess it's poison types. A Moontress is a tank, but so is Morty, and no amount of iron defenses can protect them from our high horsepower. Trust me, I've been there. But Toxic does put our big boy out of this battle, so we quickly switch them out into Avocado. Yeah, I know, we should probably save them for the big battles, but hey, a Mega Evolution boosted Dig is going to take care of their Argoro, and a nasty looking Stone Edge is going to take out of the Ghost of Cake Pass, no matter the Mega Evo. Dragon Claw is enough to get rid of their Crowbaria, and for this final Pokemon, I really want to play it safe, so we send in Degassi, who is able to tank a move and land a single Shadow Claw, but after a Sword Dance, landing a second one might be a little bit risky. So let's send in Yummy to play and take a crunch well enough, but then they get off a critical hit poison jab, and that just doesn't do it. Yummy died as they lived, not with a bang, but with a whimper. To finish off their last bit of health, I need speed more than anything, and Nika is the right fox to do the job, Hyper Potion or not. We had won our second battle. The third Elite Four member is against Mina, which means that we're facing fairy types. It also means that I'm terrified. At the very least, we have Degassi, who is a super powerful steel type. They lead with the all too familiar Rovion, but two Shadow Claws put the little guy down. Next up is Granlug, which looks super intimidating as hell till I did the math and realized that Ice Fairy is even weaker before Degassi's Iron Head. At this point though, our health is looking a little bit dicey, and I'm not in a position where I can afford to lose any more Pokemon. Considering Gardevoir is about to Mega Evolve, it's best we get our own Mega in here, and since they missed their attack, we're on an even playing field. As every kid who chose Charmander knows, Rock beats Fire. The rest of the Fairy types aren't as deadly, as Rose is able to stall out Stout Fable before Leech Seed and Giga Drain does the job. Degassi can come back in and just sort of coast, restoring their health with leftovers before doing chip damage to Primarina Togekiss and letting Morty take the final hit. Our final Elite Four member is Marnie, of all people, and it shows me that I was not as prepared as I thought I was. Their Toxicrow goes down easy enough to Avocado, but their Abdrio is a lot scarier. A Jump Kick does nearly half of our health, and on the other hand, our Stone Edge does all of theirs. Now, I know better than to keep our slow Avocado in against what is a clearly faster Hex Doom, so we need to make the switch to Degassi, which gets their Doggo Dragon stuck into a not very effective Outrage. Now, I've watched this battle back maybe 10 times while writing this script, and each time I can only think if one thing had gone differently, I could have avoided a tragedy. I wished that their Outrage didn't end after one more attack, so that they didn't have a chance to use a full restore. I wish that we had switched out instead of going for another X-Scissor, because one foul play was all it took. The move that uses Degassi's cracked out attack stat against them to take our Steel Ghosty Bird down. Our most reliable teammate just falls, and I begin to panic. If Degassi can't win against this beast, who can? Nika? Well, we've had Nika forever. Why don't we just use Flamethrower against a dragon type Moop? What a great idea. And somehow we get rewarded for our terrible decision to send Nika out, because we get a crit and a lucky burn, which is barely enough to take them down. But that's the kicker. It wasn't even Marty's strongest Pokemon, because they have Kangaskhan or whatever this is called, cold, and it's about to Mega Evolve. And as everyone knows, Mega Kangaskhan is cracked out of their goddamn mind. It's gonna get 2 attacks. If I have any chance of surviving this Mega Behemoth, I need their attack lowered. And that means I have to say goodbye to Nika. We go for a single Will-O-Wisp, and thankfully it lands. But as Nika falls and goes to eternal slumber, we resolve to make their sacrifice worth it. We send in the Queen of Stalling, Rose, to finish off the battle. Between their burn and Giga Drain restoring our own health, we manage to outlast them, and for Morty to defeat their final Pokemon in Oversage. We made it out, but it doesn't feel like a victory, because we're about to go into the toughest fight we have yet with half a team. No more switching out now. I just lost my 2 favorite and most reliable Pokemon, but we're going to get out of this Nuzlocke one way or another. We lead into our final rival battle with Dildon using Rose, the safest option since I don't know what's coming, and we begin to stall out their Stout Fable with Leech Seed and Giga Drains. It's frustrating for Dildon, so much so that he decides to switch out into Crobaria, which in response, we quickly U-turn and send out Morty, using a pretty deadly Icicle Crash to destroy their Dragon type. Stout Fable comes back out, so once again we send in Rose as well, where we're less successful with stalling and we lose another Pokemon. But it gets them close enough that I'm comfortable sending Avocado out, even though it's a Fairy type. We get the kill shot, and now it's time for the actual challenge. Mega Intellite versus Mega Avocado. 2 massive dragons, each super effective against the other. It really just matters who moves first. And for a move I cannot even begin to rationalize, they decide to Dragon Dance, meaning a single swift Dragon Claw is enough to take out our biggest threat. We're on a roll here. The rest of our rivals' Pokemon go down easy. Wheelgore, Cursegloss, Landchomps, all chumps when faced with Avocado. I can't believe it. Somehow, against all odds, Dildon fumbled the bag. I don't even feel like I had won that. I feel like if their Intellite had decided to just use a Dragon type move, we would have lost. But hey, we take those. I loved Pokemon Fused Dimensions. I think the sprites are amazing and highly recommend you check out the game and support the creators in the description below. Have a nice damn rest of y'all's day.